Back to Flashpoint, everyone. We're talking about the election. Just before the break, I said that we would talk about Deborah Ross and Senator Burr and how close that race is. According to the Elon poll, we're basically a percentage of point apart in this race, and a lot of money pouring into this state from the national parties to put all those ads on TV. What are you thinking about this race?
Well, Beth, we were just talking about how a year or so ago, people would have been surprised by the current tightness of that race, right? And I think the reason it is so tight are for two reasons. One, Deborah Ross has shown she is a fantastic campaigner. And two, Richard Burr, has been in the Senate for 3 terms, and he does not really have much of a record to run on. He hasn't really been around. He doesn't have a signature accomplishment to point to. And in terms of outside money coming in, a lot of that money is coming in from special interests on Burr's behalf. And, really, that's sort of his thing, is he's been working in Washington for himself and for those special interests. And North Carolinians here feel that he hasn't been working for us. And so those two things combined, I think, have made it a very tight race. And I think, if it continues on this trend, you're gonna see a surprising upset victory from Deborah Ross, November 8th.
How is the GOP feeling as Senator Burr heads back in for re-election?
Senator Burr is going to be just fine, and he's going to win in November. If you take the issue, very important issue of global terrorism, of the threats that we're facing at home and abroad, and you can contrast these two records. You have the Democratic nominee who was the director of the ACLU right after 9/11, who was basically undermining and demeaning our intelligence efforts and our intelligence officers in what I would proffer as a shameful way, and contrast that to Senator Burr. He has devoted himself as the chairman of the Senate Select on Intelligence, and has devoted himself to protecting the homeland, to going after and eliminating terrorism at home and abroad. And I think very serious foreign policy issues are at play in this race, and that's why Senator Burr is going to be returned to the United States Senate.
Can I just point out real quick? I think it's interesting that Brad, on the one hand, is saying that the world is quote unquote on fire. All right, and that Trump is somehow going to fix that with his secret plan to battle ISIS, right, that he hasn't revealed to anybody because there is no plan and there are no details. And then on the other hand is talking about how Burr is going after terrorism and fighting terrorists. You can't have it both ways. Either the world's on fire and we need a change, or things are going pretty well and we don't need a change. And I think that's sort of typical of what you see from a lot of Republican candidates and Republicans in general. You got Pat McCrory saying one thing and doing another, talking about the Carolina comeback, ignoring the folks that feel left behind. You've got Donald Trump coming out and saying one thing on the record, on tape, and then at a presidential debate saying, oh, I didn't say that. And, it's like, who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? I mean, we can see this stuff. We can look it up. And then you have, at the vice presidential debate, Mike Pence saying, oh, no, he didn't say those things. No, shaking his head. No, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. And it's comical, because a week ago, the country saw Donald Trump saying those things, and here we are with Mike Pence saying, no, that didn't happen. And again, you cannot just lie to voters like that and think that you're not going to get called on it. We know the record. We see the record. We're talking about the record. And, that record shows that Trump has done these things, has said these things. So I think that's sort of an interesting contrast there.
This is another diversion. When we're talking about what this world looks like and who's responsible for allowing it to go to this state. He's talking about a vice presidential state. What I'm talking about is the state of the Middle East, what's going on with Russia and Libya, and you go down the list and understand that the Islamic State has been allowed to hold and gain territory while the current Democratic administration has called them the JV team, has not taken it seriously, has worked on, instead of combating that, has worked on a nuclear deal to allow Iran to continue with their nuclear weapons development program. So, I mean, it's, to try to divert, I hope the viewers heard what they just heard there, which is just a litany of things to try and divert their eyes from the real facts on the ground.
We have to take another quick break, folks. Aren't you glad you're watching Flashpoint? Stick around. We have time for final thoughts when we come back.